All right. Hello, everyone. It's Liz from the Barletta team at Ligris, and I am here again with Annalie and Ricky from Best of Boston Living at Century 21 North Shore. So good to see you guys. How's it going?
Good, good. Good to see you too.
Good
Yeah.
to see you too. I hope you had a wonderful Easter vacation here.
Yes, it's always good to take a little break for sure and see the little kids with their Easter baskets. So much fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So today, I think we wanted to talk about Homestead,
Yeah.
and we do have a couple questions in regards to Homestead. So Ricky, I'll let you
Yeah, let's
play.
start with if you can tell us the reason of why we should fill out the declaration of homestead when you purchase a property. That'd be fantastic. Good to
Perfect.
know that.
Yeah, so a declaration of homestead is a written instrument that gets that identifies certain criteria and it gets recorded at the registry of deeds. The importance of this is that it's going to protect against essentially creditors, anybody who's trying to put a lien on your property and to kind of force the sale of your home to pay off a debt. So the example I always give is, God forbid you're in an accident. It's your fault. You're found at fault. The judge orders that you owe that person, the plaintiff money. If you don't have a home declaration of homestead recorded on your primary residence, then technically that the judge will issue a lien. They could put it on a lien recorded at the registry of deeds on your property, and they could have a judge or the sheriff force the sale of the home to pay off whatever debt you owe. A homestead doesn't extinguish your liability. So in that situation, that example, you'd still owe that money. But with the protection of the homestead, the sheriff wouldn't be able to force the sale of the home to pay off the debt. Now, again, the debt isn't extinguished. So, if you sell the property, that recorded lien is still there. So you'd have to pay it off. Or if you refinance, you pay it off. But you wouldn't be forced out of your home. And that's because Massachusetts wants to ensure that people who are purchasing to occupy as their primary residence are protected and can keep a safe roof over their head, right? The good news in it's been forever since there's been really a change to the homestead law, but recently they have increased the protection amount. Back before last year, it was 250, or if you're married, then it would increase to 500,000 of equity protection. Now it's $1 million. And I think that just goes to show the value increases in our area and that you really need to have an increase in that protection.
And let
Is
me
it
ask
a
you a question.
million dollars of single or $1 million married couple?
$1 million for the
For
property.
married,
It
for
doesn't matter
couple.
if it's married or single.
Wow, that's a
Oh,
big jump there.
Yeah,
Absolutely, that's double.
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Um,
regarding to that, you say something already about what type of properties are in that you can have a homestead on it.
so it's
It can
only,
be
yeah, only primary residence. So let's say you
primary,
have
not
your primary
investments.
investments, you cannot. You have one and that's it. One
Okay.
homestead. Of course, you could go and record a homestead on all your properties, but they wouldn't be valid. The only valid one would be the one on your primary residence.
Hmm.
Um, and for those people who are listening who may have a homestead already, maybe they bought 2 years ago and they put a homestead on. Back then it was 500. Now it's 1 million. Do they have to do it again? No. In the law, it states that, whatever homesteads are already there, the increase they'll still get the benefit of that increase, regardless of whether they won't have to file it again. Also, there used to be a requirement years ago that whenever you refinanced, you had to file a homestead again. Not the case.
Not
So
anymore.
you do it once. If you're occupying that property for 50 years, that's it. There's only the one. You don't never have to redo it. There's also protections. There's certain nuances, like if you have a property in a trust and so things like that, that you will just kind of sort of check mark those things in the form. And then the cost. I think that's always this must cost a lot of money. It doesn't. It's $35, unless you're in Norfolk. Norfolk County always charges $1 more, so 36 in Norfolk. But 35 or $36 to record that homestead. That price hasn't increased. So or maybe it's now 2 or 3 years ago, they increased pricing of all the recordings at the registry. So things that used to be 75 or 105, they had like I think it was a $30 increase on all recordings except Homestead. Homestead has remained that $35, $36 since
But
I've
what
been
does it cost
practicing.
for them to have it done? Like, would they
Yeah.
hire an attorney to have that done? And what's the fee would
Yeah.
involve in that?
So typically this is something that's done at purchase closings, right? Because we will know the status. Are they buying for their primary? Are they not buying for their primary? And if it is, our office, for example, not all offices do. So you always want to double check with your attorney and their process. But our office will automatically prepare a homestead for our clients to be signed at closing and recorded. There is a fee for that. It's a flat $75 to prepare it. But we don't have to prepare it. You can do it yourself as well. All these forms are available online. So if you didn't want us to do it, that's totally fine. You can do it yourself. Or if you purchased years ago and you don't know, send us a message. I'm happy to take time to go look at the registry of deeds, see if you have a homestead recorded. And if you don't, show you where the form is. I won't charge you anything, just send you the form, you fill it out and can mail it in for it to be recorded. It's amazing how many attorneys don't talk about homestead or prepare them for their clients because we see it on refis. Every time we do a refi, if it's a primary residence, the application checks whether it's primary or investment, right? So we always look, our office does, and if it says primary and there's no homestead on record, we inform the client and get them to do it at closing of a refi.
I have another question too. For example, if the homeowner passed away, and say they have heirs, that protection continue to the heirs or stop after the homeowner passed?
Well, so the estate, it depends because if it's the estate of, then it's still protected. If then there's been a probate process and now other people have taken title, those people should be filing a homestead.
Okay, and one more question. And what happens if somebody go bankruptcy, file bankruptcy? So what happened to that protection if they lose the property or they in the process to it?
So these are very strict nuances as it relates to bankruptcy. One thing I should say, I talked about creditors in my example. Technically, a lender is a creditor, right? But the homestead protection doesn't protect against your mortgage. Okay. So if you don't pay your mortgage just because you have a homestead, doesn't mean that the lender can't force a sale of the property to pay off the debt. So typically bankruptcies come into play based off of lots of different factors and lots of different liabilities. Not, for example, the credit cards or the loans, the school loans, there's so many different things. So there's certain restrictions for the homestead and how it relates to bankruptcy that I could have a whole other conversation about that takes a lot
Right, it's
longer.
so many questions too. Is another one regarding to the marriage. If they got divorced, how that works too. They have to file a new one or
No,
that
they don't need
has
to
to.
file a new one. It's just whoever's going to be occupying. So essentially it would extinguish for the spouse who's no longer an owner. But if they're maintaining their ownership together, then they
Right.
still would have the protect. Does that make sense? So it just depends on I think at the end of the day, it's focused on who's living there as their primary. Do they have a homestead recorded? Then that person has protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So basically, it sounds like, just to, wrap things up so people understand, is a homestead doesn't protect anybody from creditors, and nor does it protect them from owing the money. It just protects them from being forced to sell the property to pay off the debt that somebody has charged them with.
Correct. And only related to creditors that are not your home lender, your mortgage lender, or the government. I should say that too. So if you
Okay.
owe taxes have priority, your mortgage has priority.
So it's
But
basically if somebody hires contractors to do the work.
contractors, an accident, God forbid,
Yeah.
credit card debt, anything like that, because at the end of the day, you could be sued if you owe a lot. You know, credit card companies file judgments against people all the time when they win in
What
court.
about homeowner insurance?
Homeowners insurance, I think that we should have an insurance agent actually one of these days when we have a conversation, because insurance, we could talk about flood insurance, insurance in general, like what's covered, what's not. How, I mean, obviously it differs greatly from title insurance, like we talked about it a couple videos ago. But in terms of your insurance would kick in, of course, too. So, but that's separated apart from sort of the liability of the protecting of the home asset. So if you have insurance, of course, that insurance company will go to bat for you and negotiate with the creditors, counsel on your behalf if it's like an accident situation, right? If you have car insurance or whatever, or even homeowners insurance, depending on the situation. So that doesn't necessarily, the fact that you would have some protection with your insurance policy to pay off debt doesn't mean that an attorney isn't going to still try to put a lien on the property for any gap of that policy, for example. And you just never know. A lot of people, especially if you have a home where you've paid off your mortgage, some people don't insure their house anymore after that because they don't have a lender requiring them to do so. So these are things that are super just important. And again, for $35 or $36 in Norfolk to get it recorded, and you do it once, and so long as you live there as your primary residence, it's like a no-brainer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great benefit to have for sure.
Absolutely.
So highly recommended to our clients to make sure, and when they purchase a property or they refinance, they need to double check with that.
Double check always,
Yep.
always. It still surprised me to this day when I see on a refi package that we have a homestead prepared. I'm like, why do we have that? And then we look back and the attorney who represented them back then didn't record a homestead. So, but if there's any questions about homestead from viewers, feel free to reach out. Again, I'm happy to check your property records to see if you have a homestead, if you think you did and maybe you didn't. But again, just remember that you don't have to do it again if you refi. You have the protection of the increased amount, even though you filed it prior to that law change. So any questions?
Same here. If you any of our viewers has any topic that they want us to discuss, just send us a message.
Send a
and
message.
we need to ask all the questions for you.
Absolutely. Well, great to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Same here. Great seeing you.
We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye.